So this is the ADO Air. This is a foldable electric bike that folds down in 3 places. So first you start with the pedals, and then you go to the handlebars, and then you go to the center frame of the bike and you fold it in half. And then now this makes this bike very easy to load up in the trunk of your car if you wanted to, or if you just want to kind of store it in your garage, or if you do ride this bike to work, you can take it into your office if you wanted to, and then just fold it in half, and it's not going to take up that much space. But even if you leave it unfolded, this bike is still really easy to carry up and down stairs and things because it only weighs a little bit over 35 pounds or so. So I was able to carry it upstairs with just one hand. And yes, I know I'm a buff guy, I'm joking, but even if you need to use 2 hands, it still is not a bad bike to move around. And the one thing I will say though about the folding mechanisms is that they are very smooth. Sometimes on these bikes, the latches that you actually unlatch to fold can be a little stiff and very hard to unfold, especially in cold weather, but that wasn't the case here with this bike. Now I did have one issue with the folding mechanism. On the center portion of the folding mechanism is that the internally routed cables, sometimes they stick out a little bit. So when you do go to close it up or unfold it, they would kind of get in the way. But after the second time of this happening, I just realized that I just need to kind of every time use a couple of fingers and tuck them in a little bit. And then I didn't have that issue when it came to folding. So yeah, that's something that can be worked on. But overall, I do like the cable routing on this bike and the cable management. So up front on the handlebars, things are tied down very nicely. And the fact that the cables are internally routed just helps protect them when you are riding or if you fall off the bike, unfortunately. So everything is really buttoned up on this bike, and just really overall the design of this bike is really nice. So it comes in 3 different colors. So I have blue here, but it also comes in ivory and also gray. And I like the design of the bike because again, it's sleek. It's not a bunch of logos around here, but just little nice touches that really make this bike look good. And it's really not that much assembly for this bike either. So right out of the box, it's pretty much ready to ride. You might need to charge up the battery, but it does come with 2 fenders that are optional for you to put on. I just put the one on the rear tire at this particular time, but the headlight comes already on the bike, and the headlight is powered off of the battery, so you don't have to worry about that. But it also does come with a rear light here that is battery powered, so you do need to put that on and then change out the battery from time to time, but it has a little button on the bottom to turn on when you do need to. Now the battery for this bike is actually in the seat tube, and so you can just pull this entire thing out and take it inside to charge. So you just need to undo this cable here on the back and then undo the latch, and then now you can pull it off, take it inside, and then leave your bike chained up outside somewhere or leave it in the garage. So this also makes it a little bit of a theft deterrent because it doesn't look very attractive to steal a bike that doesn't have a seat nor the battery inside of it. So I do like that. And another thing is that this bike doesn't have any keys that comes with it. So basically on the battery, there is a button that you do need to press in and it'll turn green. And then now you'll be able to actually power on the bike via the display. So no keys, just a button to turn it on. Now, speaking of the seat, I will say that it's not bad, but it's not super comfortable either. I would like to see a little bit more cushion in the seat. It wasn't to the point to where I feel like I definitely need to change out the seat on this bike, but for me, if I am going to be spending a lot of time riding it, I probably would switch it out for a more comfortable seat. But again, it's not the worst that I rode, but it is good that it is wide enough for a big butt person like myself. All right, so let's jump up to the handlebars where you will find some really comfortable grips. Like they have a good amount of cushion to them, which you don't always find, but also they still give you some grip. And then on the right hand side, you will find a thumb throttle, which is very convenient and very easy to use for cruising around on this bike. And then you will find a button for the built-in electronic horn. And then on the left-hand side, you will find this IPX7 rated display here. That is a color display. It does a pretty good job in sunlight as well. And then also too, I love the information that you have on here as far as your speed, your distance and stuff, and your battery levels. And again, it is IPX7, so it will be able to handle some water if you do get caught out in the rain. But then something that is a first for me when it comes to reviewing an e-bike is that this bike also has a USB-C port on the bottom of the display here. So if you do have your smartphone like mounted on the handlebars or something, you can now keep it charged at the same time. So typically I see USB type A ports, but it's nice to see this is a USB type C port. All right, so now let's talk about how it is to ride this bike. So right now I have the bike completely powered off because the one thing I like about this thing being lightweight is the fact that if you do run out of battery, you still can be able to ride this bike to your destination. And you can hear the brakes there a little bit. This bike does have hydraulic disc brakes, but I haven't bed the brakes in or kind of broke them in a little bit yet, so they are squeaking. But the good thing is that the brakes do have some really good stopping power, and so like I'm gonna pick up speed here a little bit going downhill, and I'm gonna press on the brakes. Oh yeah, and I didn't even like slam down totally hard. But now I went ahead and turned the bike on, and you can turn this down to pedal assist level 0, and that will basically not give you any power from the motor when you are using this bike. But by default, it does come with 3 levels of pedal assist, but you can go into the settings and change it to 5 levels of pedal assist, which I did because I like to have a little bit more control as far as like how much power I'm getting, and having those 2 extra levels does help out with that. And so this bike does come with a 350 watt motor for the US version, but for the EU and UK, you will be getting a 250 watt motor. And so let's do a little bit of a hill climbing test. So this isn't a super steep hill, but it is something that, you know, you can feel the power of the motor kicking in and helping you. I do have it on pedal assist level 5, so I'm not out of breath, and, you know, I'm not really trying too hard, but we're going up this hill at a pretty decent speed here. Now this is a single speed bike, which would be an issue if this bike was geared towards like mountain biking and stuff, but because it's made for like city riding and stuff, a single speed is just fine, especially because they also do use a carbon belt drive. And so carbon belts are different from your traditional chains that you find on bikes because you don't have to maintain them as much. You don't have to keep cleaning them off and greasing them up and stuff. And they really only need to be replaced every, you know, few years or so, depending on how much you're riding, right? They can last for quite a long time. But because of this and the combination of the single speed, I felt like this did help with the pedaling and made it feel very comfortable. And this bike doesn't have any suspension system either, so you definitely want to try to avoid those potholes and things as much as possible. And oh, if you ever find yourself going up a hill that's just a little too much for this bike, you can enable the walking mode just by holding down on the minus button on the display. And so now when you're holding and walking next to the bike, the motor will kick in a little bit to help you out. But now let's do a little bit of a speed test here to see how fast I can go. And so I have it on pedal assist level 5. I'm going 20 miles per hour right now. I'm at 21, 22. Can I get 23? All right, I'm at 22 miles per hour and I'm pumping pretty hard here. So yeah, so this bike isn't going to really get you at a super fast speed, but if you are trying to keep up with traffic, that's not a bad speed to be at. But again, I do like the fact that this thumb throttle is very comfortable to use. So now I can kind of just chill. And with this thumb throttle, I'm hitting around 19 miles per hour as far as the speed. So that's a pretty good speed for a thumb throttle for this particular type of motor. And I'm a little out of breath from that speed test, so I'm a little out of shape. But anyway, this bike also comes with a torque sensor too. So a torque sensor is better than the traditional cadence sensor that you see a lot, because the torque sensor can basically measure how much power and input that you're putting into your pedaling, and to be able to adjust how much the motor is going to be helping you with the pedal assist. And so right now I see a little bit of a hill, so this means I have to put a little bit more power in, and I don't really get like a jerky motion with the motor or anything. It just kind of really smoothly adjusts to the power that I need for this particular situation. As far as the range for this bike, the company says if you are around 150 pounds or less and you're using like pedal assist 1 or 2, you can get around 62 miles. So of course, all of these different range conditions depends on the weather, depends on how much wind you're riding against and how much you weigh and stuff. So for me, I'm about 6 feet tall and I weigh about 220 pounds. So obviously I'm not going to expect to get that same type of range, but just know that this does depend on, you know, those different factors as far as how far you can actually go. But to just sum up my riding experience, this is a really good city urban type of bike. I'm not going to be taking this thing on any mountain biking trails or anything like that, and it's not marketed for that, but a really good bike to kind of cruise around in your neighborhood or going to work and stuff. This is going to be just fine. All right, so final thoughts about this bike. I really see this bike being good for people like me who do like to take road trips and stuff. So it's very compact. You can throw it in the trunk of your car or your SUV, and you don't have to have it like on your bike rack, so it's exposed to the elements, and also just sitting out for people to see all the time. Or if you just like space conscious, maybe you live in an apartment somewhere, or maybe you live anywhere in New York City and you might not have a lot of space. You can have the benefits of having an e-bike, but also not have it take up so much space. And just overall, the fit and finish, the carbon belt and things like that make this a very low maintenance bike as well. Now for the latest pricing about this bike, I'll drop a link down below in the description, so click on that to get all of that information, because this bike did start off as an Indiegogo campaign, which I think should be ending by the time I upload this video. So click on that link to get that pricing information. But I think they are scheduled to start shipping this bike this month or March of 2023. So it looks to be on schedule, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, drop your comment down below and let me know what you think about this bike. bike. But like always, I do want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you later. Peace.